Hi, fourth graders. Welcome to our math lesson today. We are doing math lesson 3-7, and we're talking about two things today, just under quotients and quotients with zeros. So our targets for today are one, to know what to do if a quotient is too low, and to know when to use zeros in our quotients. So we know our vocabulary of our dividend, our divisor, and our quotient. And we're adding to that today to talk about what a just under quotient is. So let's get started. A just under quotient. We're going to begin with Puzzled Penguin because he has a question and he demonstrates what a just under quotient is perfectly. So he started to solve this division problem and realized he'd kind of made a mistake. So let's take a closer look at Puzzled Penguin's problem and figure out the error. So this is what he has so far. We have 3,476 divided by 4. And so let's talk through what he's done. Clearly, he's looked in the thousands place and said, well, we can't do 3 divided by 4 because 3 is smaller by 4. So he's left that blank. Makes sense. That's correct so far. And he's moved on to the hundreds. And he started with 34 hundreds. And we're dividing by 4, so he is using the 4 times table. Okay, 34 divided by 4. And Puzzled Penguin has put the 7 up here and then multiplied 4 times 7 to get the 28. And if we look on the 4 times table, we see 4 times 7 is 28, and this is less than 34. So it kind of makes sense that 28 is less than 34. Okay, so he said 34 divided by 4 would give us 7. 4 times 7 is 28. And if we subtract 28 from 34, we're left with 6. Now, I just want you to look at the 6 and the 4 for a minute. And I just want you to think about what Puzzled Penguin could have done that could be his error. Okay, maybe some of you are thinking, well, 4 times 7 does equal 28, and that is less than 34, but there's another multiplication number here or equation that is less than 34. That's kind of closer to 34 that Puzzled Penguin could have used. And maybe some of you are thinking, if you look at 6, that we're left with 6, like there's 6 left, 6 is bigger than 4. So if I had 6 things and I was going to divide them up so that I could split them in 4 groups, I could still divide 4 of them into another group. So I feel like 6 could still be divided into 4 one more time. So here is a tip. We're going to correct Puzzled Penguin's error. If the digit left after subtraction, like this 6, is bigger than the divisor, which is 4, then the quotient, this number up here, needs to be increased. Okay, so let's see if we could fix Puzzled Penguin's error, because really we could do more than 7 lots of 4 out of 34. Okay, so let's see. Same problem. And we're going to do the same thing. We can't divide 3 by 4 because 3 is smaller than 4. So we're going to leave the thousands place blank. And we're going to move into the hundreds. 34 hundreds, 34 divided by 4. And if we're looking for the just under quotient, we are looking for the one that is just under the dividend we're looking for. So 34 would fit in here. So we are looking for what is just under that. It almost makes it to 34. To get 4 times 9 is 36. That's too much. We haven't got 36. We've only got 34. So what's just under 34? 4 times 8. So we're going to put the 8 out here. 4 times 8 is 32. 34 minus 32 leaves us with 2 left. Now you might notice that the digit left us after subtraction is smaller than the divisor. 2 is less than 4. So that's a pretty good check. Like, okay, yep, we've done this right. We're as close as we can to dividing these numbers up correctly. Okay, and we can carry on with the rest of the problem. Okay, so you need to be looking for the just under quotient. The quotient that multiplies here to bring us the closest to the divisor and the dividend that we're working with. So always double check by making sure this digit that we're left with after subtraction is smaller than the divisor. This is the tip for the just under quotient. Look out for tips that the teachers were all giving you as we go through this division unit. There are things to remember that really help us figure out these long division problems. So make sure the digit left after subtraction is smaller than the divisor. Otherwise, if it's like this, you're like, uh-oh, we need to increase our quotient because we can get closer to just under. Okay, the just under quotient is the biggest quotient you can get to fit within that dividend. Okay, tip number 1. Now we are going to move on to the activity page for today, which is all about zeros in the quotient. So we're going to be looking at page 114, and we're going to work on the first 2 problems together. So if you could turn to that page, you will see that the very first problem, question number 3, is 1,842 divided by 6. So let's just work through this together the way we know how to do. It's the 6 times table because we're dividing by 6. And we've got 1 in the thousands place. Well, 1 is less than 6, so we can't do that. So let's look at the hundreds. So we've got 18 hundreds divided by 6. So I'm going to my 6 times table, and I see that 6 times 3 is 18. So 18 divided by 6 is going to be 3. And I'm going to put that in the hundreds place because we're talking hundreds. Okay, we've divided. Now we're going to multiply. 6 times 3 is 18. We're going to subtract to see if there's anything left. There isn't. That's fine. And divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Now we're going to work on tens. So I'm going to bring down that 4, and we're going to work on the tens. 4 divided by 6. 4 is less than 6. So I can't actually do that. We cannot split 4 tens between 6 groups. Okay, so we've actually got 0 tens in each of our 6 groups, and we're going to have to move on and bring down the ones to help us. So we are now working in the ones because we've said, 0 tens. We couldn't divide 4 tens by 6. So I'm going to put a 0 up there to say 0 tens. Now we're going to work with ones. 42 ones divided by 6. So I'm looking at my 6 times table. 42 divided by 6 is 7. And I'm going to put the 7 in the ones place because we're talking ones. Okay, 6 times 7 is 42. If I subtract, 0 left, so no remainder. So 1,842 divided by 6 is 307. Now, if I did not put the 0 in the tens place, then our final answer would be 37. And that's incorrect because 6 times 37 is not 1,842. We need the 0 in the tens place so that we don't get all our places and our values muddled up. Okay, just the same way we talked about in our addition and subtraction units and multiplication units, we need that 0 there to hold that tens place, even if it's just to say there were 0 tens. Okay, don't forget the zeros. So if there's nothing, you can't do it, put a 0 up the top. Okay, let's look at question 4, 5,125 divided by 8. Now 5 divided by 8 we can't do, so let's move to hundreds. 51 divided by 8. I'm going to use my 8 times table. The closest I can get for my just under quotient, because 56 is too much, so I go to just under. I see that 48 divided by 8 is 6. So I'm going to put the 6 as my quotient up here. 8 times 6 is 48. So I've divided, I've multiplied. Now I'm going to subtract to get the difference. I'm left with 3. Remember, now we bring down. So I'm going to bring down the 2 from the tens. I'm working in tens, 32 tens. 32 divided by 8. 32 divided by 8 is 4. Okay, 8 times 4 is 32. We subtract, we're left with 0. So now we're going to bring down the ones. And we have 5 ones. 5 divided by 8. Ooh. 5 and our product will go over here. 5 divided by 8. We can't do it. Can't split 5 things between 8 groups. So I actually am going to have to put a 0 in the ones place because I haven't got enough ones to divide into 8. So I've put a 0 in the ones place. And now remember that we would bring down the next digit. Oh, but there's no digit to bring down because we're finished with the ones. So what do we do with this 5? They become our remainder. Okay, so look out. Here's our second tip. If the divisor, so the 8, doesn't go into the number that's brought down from the dividend, then you're going to write a 0 in the quotient up the top and bring down the next digit. And on this example for question 4, we couldn't bring down the next digit because we were already in the ones. So what we're left with here becomes the remainder. For question 3, the 0 was in the tens place. So we said, oh, we can't do 4 tens divided by 6. So we're going to put a 0 in the tens place, and we're just going to bring down the next digit, and we're going to work in the ones. Okay? And then it became 42 ones. So that's the second tip for the day. Look for zeros in the quotient. If you cannot divide your divisor into the number you bring down from the dividend, then you're going to have to put a 0 up the top in the quotient. And you could have a 0 in the tens or the ones, anywhere in your quotient. So today when you do your class activity page 114, there's just the one page. We've done questions 3 and 4 together. So you're going to need to do 5 through 13. Every question has a quotient with at least 1 0. Some questions even have 2 zeros in the quotient. So just be looking out for that today. And as always, your teachers, we're here to help you. Just ask for whatever help you need. Off you go.